reason for our meal tonight is to celebrate. Or maybe we've just gone live. So we'll welcome you again in case you missed that. But we are in Erbil, and we have finished the field work for this year, really. We finished the second tranche of work that we did. So we had 6 days first time round, and then another 5 days just now. And that's it for a little while, but it's been a really remarkable, enjoyable, wonderful, life-affirming, life-enriching little while. And we'd like to share briefly some of the stories with you. So we began, last time we spoke to you, we were in the middle of the first tranche, and that was revisiting our colleagues and friends along the pre-existing section of trail, so between Accra and Mhamad, and checking on the impact of the coronavirus on the communities and stakeholders that we have gotten to know and gotten to work with so far. And then this time we tried to discuss some new trail heading west from Accra out towards a Christian town called Al-Khosh, and finding connections in between. So we've just spent 5 days doing that. Laween, what are some of your highlights of the last 5 days?
The last 5 days for me, it was really important part of the trail. Because the part that we headed west from Accra to extend our trails, but what an important place to include in our trails. Christian, Jewish, Yazidi places. So really culture, like a mix of cultures and a nice trails. You see that the two mountains that we spent 2 days on it had really an amazing trails, and I was really happy to see to include it in our trails. So we worked hard and we had a fun, and we got some really great results for our hard working and our trails. We could find some new trails on the top of the mountain, which is really great for our trail.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. There's so many factors to what we're trying to do. One part of it, and there's so many factors to a successful and enjoyable and successful and sustainable trail project as well. There's of course the natural beauty and the scenery and all of the functional aspects of that, all of the services that are associated with that. But a really important part is the cultural aspects along the way, and the ways in which those people who live in the trail corridor can share their stories and can benefit from what benefits a trail would bring in future, and also of course what travelers would experience, how they could learn more about a place that perhaps they don't know so well. So we found, as Laween just said, the Christian town of Khosh, but also we find evidence of much older churches, an old monastery, the ruins of an old monastery from probably 600 years ago. We found Jewish graveyards. We found an old synagogue. I say we found them, of course they were there.
Yeah.
We were shown these places, and we happened upon
them, and we
for the first time for us. And then Yazidi holy city of Lalish as well. And in each of these places we were again privileged to be able to travel in this unusual and difficult time, but also to meet new people, to be welcomed, to be the recipients of fantastic hospitality, the gift of conversation, and it's really been a superb few days, and it'll take a lot more work. I mean, I said this last time, it's worth repeating that we're still just in the first couple of steps of the creation process of this trail, but I'm really excited about where it's going. And Laween, if you look back at the entirety of what we've achieved, think back to the spring and winter when we started working early 2020, what are some of your memories and some of your feelings about what we've done this year?
This year, at the beginning of this year, it was really tough and hard. Everybody was here at his home in lockdown, and we were dreaming of going to mountains again. And fortunately, we could get this opportunity, and we have you here. We had you in Kurdistan. We started. My feeling till now, I cannot find a good word. It's to describe my feeling after being indoors for 7 or 8 months and dreaming and hoping to go to the mountains again, to come back to our trails. Because if you stay far from the trail or from the mountains, you will feel like you are not losing your trails, but you feel like your connection or your relation with the mountains will be like somehow coldness in it. It will not be like if you visiting it every 2 or 3 months or 5 months. 9 months we were far from the mountains and far from our local guidance, far from our guest houses. People were missing us, when calling me, and then to be there again. We got more in the last month when we started. I feel like we got more than what we expected. We did a lot. We checked all our guest houses. We checked all our friends. I think we spent 4 days just to go and check everybody who was working with the API, all the API friends, all the API local guidance, guest houses situation after this abnormal situation of the life, COVID-19. And the next week of it, which means last week, was really great that we started to extend our trails, which was like really great. We were working hard for it, and we did in a really perfect way, that extending from the west. And the feeling till, really I cannot describe my feeling. It was really great and good memories. You see, that's just sometimes we're just standing first day I stand like 10 minutes, really 10 minutes speechless in the mountain, being outdoor in the mountain, at the top of mountain after 9 or 10 months, indoor and lockdown and curfew and negative ideas of COVID-19, or everything you were receiving negative, and suddenly you see yourself on the top of the mountain with the fresh air, with a freedom, and then 10 minutes I was like speechless, just to feel the freedom, to feel the happiness of being back on the mountains again, on the trails again. Yeah, it was really great, feeling great, emotional moments.
I completely empathize with that as well. That I think everything that's the world has been through in the last 9 to 12 months has really made us appreciate so much more the beauty that we have around us in the natural world, and the communities that we have around us. And what we're really excited about is to, at some point in the future, eventually be able to share this. That's the whole function of this, is to create a platform for shared experience. And we're really excited for other people to come and join it. And I think, Laween, I'll ask you the same question too, but I think if I'm to pick out a highlight of our work, I think it's just been reminded of the diversity and variety of community and of landscape in what's relatively a pretty small area. And we've the existing trail corridor that we had before is about 175, 200 kilometers, and we've added in early stages another 50 kilometers or so to that. But we've seen so much. We've seen many different faiths. We've seen so many different eras of history. We've seen various layers of geology and landscape. We've eaten so much food. It would take a whole other live stream just to talk about that. And Laween, I wonder, are there any people that stick out for you? Any individuals that we've met or reconnected with that you felt most excited to experience this time around?
Basically everybody, every single man, every single local guy that we met have a story, have a unique character or unique story for me. For example, starting from Accra, from study as a local, and has a unique story. Going to Choman, Amar has his character. Ahmed Rizani was the one who the top, when we met him first, and then when we met him again. Yeah, it was for me. Ahmed Rizani was the character that's I feel like something different from the other local guiders. Yeah, with the memories, with his stories, full of stories. His relation with the mountains. He spent most of his life on the mountains. So if I got your question, well, which one is the one I feel like more comfortable with him was Ahmed Rizani.
Yeah, he's a very special person, a very special friend and colleague of ours. I think it's also worth mentioning our gratitude for Emily Garfield joining us on this, both for her amazing photographic documentation of it, but particularly in this context of her giving us access to learn about some of the women's spaces on the trail, because this is one of the challenges that we face as a predominantly male scouting team, is that we sometimes don't have access to these spaces and these stories, and so having Emily along with us allowed us to hear some of the stories of the wonderful women's faces and women's stories.
She added a lot to our work. Emily did a great job. She added a lot, many things that we didn't expect it. It was because of Emily's work, her camera, her connection with the local people, and many things. She added a lot to the API trails. When she was with us, we could get more connection with the local people, and as you said, the element of women to be with us in a trail that's feel the people like don't know how to explain it. She added a lot to the trail.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, another part of the beauty. The more people we can bring in and involve, the more that we get out of it collectively. So that's something to aim towards. I think the one thing that's worth mentioning too is that we've Laween and I together have now covered pretty much the entire distance across the northern part of the Kurdistan region, all the way from where Kurdistan meets federal Iraq in the west, Al-Tosh, to the Iranian border. So the two extremes, we've now traveled all of this on foot. And I say that not to glorify ourselves, because it's been just the greatest joy to be able to do it, but just to highlight what a journey this has been already, even though we're still in the early stages, just how much we found in that space alone. And so the potential of developing this trail further, of building upon those layers, and also going south as well into new areas is really exciting. So we would encourage any of you who are watching to share any questions. You can see the questions on this screen. Okay, we're back. Apologies, we
Sorry
had
for
a
the
slight loss of connection. Yeah, so we have another question here. In the places where there are no longer people of a given faith, but the buildings remain, how do the locals talk about their departed neighbours and their structures? And that is indeed a very good question. So thank you for that. It's very complex. I mean, I suppose there is, particularly in regards to the Jewish spaces and the Jewish community, we've encountered a lot of sadness, I suppose, that there's no longer a living Jewish community.
Yes, we discussed. Yeah, we were just exactly talking about this point during our walk. That's to see a community that, if you remember, if you just go back to the history, you see how people were living together, coexisting together, and now you feel that one part of this mosaic is missing. So imagine how sad is the feeling when they told us the stories in Amidin, Acre, talking about their stories, how they were living together, and now one of them is missing. I remember last year one of them, when family told us this story, that you feel like really a deep sadness that one of the element of the society is missing. Yeah. Deep sadness. Yeah.
And part of that, I hope, is also coming through too, in the fact that what we were talking about just when we lost connection, the tomb of the Jewish prophet Nahum is being renovated and reconstructed in the town of Al-Kosh with a lot of investment from outside. And this is partly to help rebuild the lost heritage, but also to help people who still live in the area appreciate those elements of the past as well. I think another thing that's interesting too is that in a place like Al-Kosh, there is a living Chaldean Catholic community, and they've faced real terrible hardships in the recent past, let alone further past, particularly with the most recent threat from ISIS coming across the Nineveh Plains in Al-Kosh. It was only a few kilometers from the front line, and it was really a miracle of many sorts that it survived. But we spent quite a lot of time in Al-Kosh this time around, and you see these completely unique elements of life there you don't find anywhere else. The thing that struck, I think, both of us was hearing people in the town speaking to each other in Assyrian, which it's just a privilege again to be able to listen to that. But these are the elements that make communities unique, and that they hold on to so dearly, and that they protect and have had to fight to protect.
Yeah. They fought hard to protect their culture, to protect their language, to protect their holy places. We saw many holy places for many religions have been destroyed past 2 or 3 years or 5 years. But Al-Kosh, as you know, they could protect it completely. They didn't let anybody to go in, and as we say yesterday, we were there, and so they still keep their culture as it is. Yeah, this unique mosaic of culture is still there. As you said, the Jewish, with their Christian church, ministries, everything is still as it is, and people are really happy with it. Everybody's living peacefully there because they could keep their culture. They defended it very well.
Yeah, and then just 30, 40 minutes away is the Yazidi holy city of Lalesh, with the holiest spot, I believe, for the
holy Yazidi in the world. Yeah.
And that's somewhere else that's faced endless challenges and threats to its existence, but has remained secure and safe. And so we found each time we visit Lalesh, and we were lucky to have visited a number of times, we meet members of the Yazidi community from elsewhere, some who have now sought refuge in Europe or the USA and are returning to visit again, to visit their sacred spaces again. And also to visit people who stayed all the way through and faced all of these challenges head on. And so these are, it's certainly true to say that the Chaldean community and the Yazidis and some of the other religions that we've Mets along our way. They are minorities here, of course, they're a huge part of the fabric of both past and present Kurdistan and Iraq, and so it's really important to tell their stories alongside everyone else's. So we have no more new questions.
No.
Well, if you
has a question,
if you have any others, send them in. Otherwise, I think we will we'll probably wrap up pretty soon. But our plan beyond this is yet to be formed. We're still, you can probably tell a little bit from the from our voices and from the bags under our eyes that we've worked pretty hard the last couple of weeks, and it feels good to be back in one place. But sleep and rest will have to catch up with us. But there's a lot more work to do here. We're incredibly excited about it. I mean, certainly for me, this is just such an incredible place with so many stories to tell. It's also just on another level a really fantastic place to go hiking. It's a beautiful place to walk. It's enjoyable, it's safe, it's friendly, there's good food, there's lots of interesting things to see and to look at. And, so even on just that very basic level, it's such a wonderful place to work. And Laween, what do you hope for next time we have a chance to get out onto the trail?
Okay, what we did now, we put like a basic for our trails. We, as you said, we finished from the Mosul border, which is Kurdistan border from central Iraq government. Here we reached Iranian border, and we walked through all of it with a different kind of this landscapes, different religions, different faiths, different foods. It's a really rich trail. We could build it well. So now we want to go higher with it.
Yeah,
we have the base. We have we understand we could understand the situation of the trail, the landscapes, and I hope that we will be able to build it higher and higher. So to back soon to the trail. I think we have just 2 or 3 parts to be fixed, and then to improve it. Same, we determine the end and the beginning, and then we have to work inside it. So we understand the landscapes. So there is no areas that we are just using maps or imagination that how it could be. No, we saw all the landscapes. We saw all the trails. We saw all the places, all the cities, all the villages. So now we can depend on our work, not on our imagination or the maps or in the asking people. No, we saw everything by ourselves, and so I think the stage 2 should start with the next step, which is improving it, and I don't know if you can call it like building it higher and higher.
Yeah, to add these next layers onto and to consolidate the work that we've done. So let's leave it there. But it's been a really exciting couple of weeks. I think in the next couple of live streams that we do would be, maybe we'll focus on very specific topics. Perhaps one on food. There's music to say that my time's probably up. Maybe one on food. Maybe one on some of these specific religious traditions or individuals along the way. Let's do that. One final question that's come in is the Anis is asking about the state of COVID. Nothing really is. We haven't found anything too new. It's still very sporadic, where it's hit very hard, but the cities and towns have been affected much worse than anywhere else. I suspect that this music will probably start to drown us out. So once again, thank you to all of the team at the Abraham Path Initiative for supporting this really important work, and it's been a pleasure for us to be the ones on the ground to do it. And we look forward to speaking to you all again soon. We're off to eat a lot of food and get some rest, and come back refreshed, rejuvenated, and full of stories.
Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye bye.